So I'm going to start this video just a little bit different by saying, first of all, that I actually like the remaster. I can't think of anything that's in it that I really don't like or that I've had issues with in practice. However, I will say that the remaster itself has been a little bit challenging because there are times when I'm playing and I'll come across a certain situation. And even if I have done a video about it, which means that I've had to spend hours researching it so I can put together enough notes and come up with enough information and topics and my opinions in order to actually create a video about it. There are times when in the middle of a combat when I just screw up or I just don't really have clarity as to what's actually going on, and I have to spend a minute or 2 minutes going back through all the different sources in order to try to figure out what to do. Now, once again, I'm in no way saying that I don't like the remaster. I love the remaster, but I just thought I'd talk about a few of my things and try to get your opinion as to how you're feeling about the remaster and how it's treating you. So with that, my name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to try to make sure in the title and on the thumbnail and in the description that this is really not griping about the remaster at all, because I don't want to make this a clickbaity type video or anything like that. Once again, I like the remaster and I like the changes, but I thought I'd come up with a couple little instances that have happened to me in reality while playing. And these are both as a player are the two cases I'm going to use. And once again, I'm just looking for your opinion and how it seems to be working out for you. Now, the first case I'd like to mention is I was using Searing Light and I was a cleric, a holy cleric, and we were fighting an infernal. Now we're sitting there on Foundry and you roll, you attack, you hit. And I'm like, oh, cool, I hit. And then it comes to the damage, and I have modifiers matter set up in my Foundry, and so it's kind of showing everything that's going along, and what all gets added to what, and all that other kind of stuff. And then the GM asked me, "So is this holy damage?" And I'm like, "Well, it's spirit damage, partially." And then I actually had to spend, I don't know, maybe a good 2-3 minutes kind of looking through stuff, and then talking with the GM, because once again, I don't want to look up creatures during the middle of a combat on Archives of Nethys or anywhere really, simply because I don't want any hints as to what could happen. And I know that I probably wouldn't use it to my advantage, but metagaming's metagaming, and sometimes you will unconsciously do things or pick things that might work better if you have outside information. So this small little thing, and once again, I've done a whole video on spirit damage and sanctification and holy and unholy and how it applies and how it works. So at the very least, not only have I read it, but I've spent a few hours putting together information and examples and things in order to try to come up with a good explanation on how it works. And at that moment in time, in the middle of a combat where I'm trying to not take up 10 minutes of time in the middle of an adventure, I kind of felt a little bit of pressure and I lost the plot as to what was actually supposed to happen. So, that was one good case that I can think of where it actually mattered. And then one of the other big cases I can come up with, and this has nothing to do with the new stuff specifically, it is going to be the same type of damage because it is spirit damage, but this one isn't specifically about spirit damage because it could apply to a bunch of different situations. But the question was, I had a spell that was done in Foundry once again. So when you can click on the spell, it'll show you how it actually works. And the damage type didn't match the weaknesses of the creature. However, the remastered name is slightly different than the legacy name. So there was a little bit of a discussion. And once again, it's in the middle of a combat where you're trying not to take up minutes of time working on rules in a particular adventure, and in this case, an adventure path that we had been playing for well over a year. And I kind of lost the plot as to what actually needed to happen, what the changes were, and we had to take a little bit of time out in order to kind of go back and look at the books, because as of this point in time, not everything's on Archives of Nethys yet. So you actually have to go into the remastered books, and I was going into the PDF, even searching and going through the glossary, and I love the glossary. It's very, very good. But the problem is that we're working with the old bestiary, not the new remastered Monster Core. And when we get Monster Core, it's not going to cover every monster that's in Bestiary 1, 2, and 3. Now we have guidelines, we have notes, and in general, when I'm not actively sitting at a table trying to fight a combat, I can usually figure it out within seconds. But when you're under the pressure of having everybody at a table waiting on you in order to take your turn, you kind of can get a little flustered and kind of forget what the rules actually are. Actually, I just thought of a third case that is a interesting one. And once again, it's one that I know what the answer is when I'm not sitting at a table. However, in another particular session, this happened where I got an item basically, and the item gave me Mage Hand. Now, Mage Hand is not called Mage Hand anymore in the remaster. It is now called Telekinetic Hand. So I couldn't think of what the new name was. Once again, it's super easy to look up once you know what it is. However, if you're looking in the remaster book doesn't necessarily tell you that it used to be Mage Hand, because why would it? 5 years from now, it's not going to matter. However, it just took much longer than it should have for me to remember that Mage Hand is now called Telekinetic Hand, and that actually derailed the adventure for a few minutes. Now, none of these were a problem, and none of these actually took more than a few minutes to figure out, so it didn't really affect the game. No one got upset. No one was like, oh, I can't believe we're going through this again. That never happened. However, as the one who is causing the delay in the game, every second felt like 10 minutes. You kind of know how that goes. You get that pressure to not slow everybody else down, and you start feeling like, oh, this is all becoming about me. I don't want this session to become about my problems with the remaster or problems remembering things in the remaster. So once again, this isn't necessarily a complaint about the remaster at all. It's not. I love it. So far, I've had no problems whatsoever. I am enjoying the new mechanics. I'm enjoying even the new names of things. However, there are just some things that are different that are taking a little bit of extra time in the pressure of an actual encounter for me to remember that I just can't pop off the top of my head like I'm used to being able to do. So with all that being said, here's kind of what I want to know. How is the remaster treating you? Have you actually run into not problems or complaints about the game? That's actually not what I'm talking about here at all. But has the remaster been fairly smooth for you? 99.9% of the time, it has been smooth for me. It's only in these individual cases when I'm trying to remember exactly how something works, or some small mechanic that isn't something that happens every single time, that I run into a problem. And it's a little bit of hyperbole to say that, oh, and I'm delaying the game for hours, because that's not the case. Minutes at most, but it just feels bad when people are waiting on you. Now, I do hope you enjoyed this little video and maybe my little examples of where I have run into problems remembering all the information in the remaster in a efficient time frame, I guess is kind of where I'm going from. I'm going from an efficiency thing, or more, I'm used to being able to play the game and knowing exactly what the rules are and how they would apply to a specific situation. But the small changes are making me rethink in the heat of battle what's actually going on. Now, I do hope you enjoyed this little video, and if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. But whatever you do, I hope you have a great day and happy adventuring. Thanks.